And we are live on United Public Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM New Orleans. How cool is that? I'm back. I survived COVID, my third time I've had it since the pandemic, so I've survived it sort of. Bear with me, I'm hanging on by my fingernails here. But God bless you all for being here. To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Father Shawn Whittington. I'm an ordained Catholic priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother with the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary. I'm a team member with Society of St. Benedict and co-founder of GhostBegone.biz. On that note, if you want to know anything about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. And if you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things to see. My books are there, both of them, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, and God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2. And if you purchase the books off of the website, they come autographed and enclosed in a house blessing kit. And the really nice thing about getting them off the website is part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my books off the website goes to support stjude.org and the ASPCA. So that's a wonderful thing. But you can get them a little less expensive at Amazon, and they're also available now in audio. That's really cool. So, what else do I want to tell you guys about the website? You can enroll in my online course there, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. That's a 12-week online course for all you true warriors for Christ. And it's a college level course, all online. I'm the instructor. And it comes, everyone that graduates gets a stunning diploma, certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed gifts that you can only get from yours truly. And I think I'm getting ready to open enrollment for the fall class if you're interested. So if there's anything else you want to know about the course that's maybe not talked about on the website page, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it and make sure it's the right thing for you before you make that type of commitment. There's also a place on the website where you can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues, not paranormal, but spiritual. So, what else do I want to tell you guys? God bless you all for tuning in because I don't have a show without you guys. And another great thing I love about my Friday show is I have the most awesome co host in this biz. And I'll tell you why. She came through like a champ last week when I couldn't do the show because I was that sick. And she did a wonderful, wonderful job. I'm still getting people calling in telling me, why do you even do the show anymore? Just let Annette do it. So it is what it is. But I'm so proud of her. And so without further ado, she is my friend. I love her. I respect her. She's the owner of Stellium Books. She's also my publisher. Please welcome to the show my co host, the one and only Annette Munich.
Wow, what an introduction. I'm sure nobody is saying, why are you even doing this show anymore? You should just let her do. That was very nice, but yeah.
No,
It
I'm
was
telling you,
awesome.
they're joking, they're messing with me and they're joking with me. But people have called to check on me and they said, "Listen, saw last week's show. Didn't even realize you weren't there."
Oh, I missed
you know
you
how
really bad.
that's my friends.
Yeah,
So
I've been praying for you and Sharon, and also a shout out to my friend Roberta in Florida. I've been praying for all the people in Florida and all of the people, in the way of the hurricane, and hoping that, very few people have damage and get hurt, just for safety. And so, hi, Roberta, shout out. I was praying for you.
well, let me just give you a just FYI. I've been left with a severe case of long-term COVID cough. So occasionally, out of the clear blue sky, I may go into these coughing fits. I've got my mute button for my mic at the ready. If I have to exit stage left, know that that's probably what happened, and I don't even worry about it because I know you've got it. But you're gonna love my guest today. I love him and respect him. He's just such a cool dude. I've been on his show twice, and this is his first time on our show. He's in the green room. Real quick before we bring him out, let's check the prayer in. Lori N. from Louisiana. Hi, Lori. I have a spirit in my house, not a scary one. I try to help the spirit pass over. Can you offer up a prayer for all the souls still here trying to get to heaven? I love this request. I'm glad I pulled this one out today. I remember when this request came in, I didn't know if I was going to put it in the mailbag or the prayer urn, but no brainer. She asked for a prayer, so I threw it in the prayer urn. But it could have gone either way. But let me offer up a beautiful prayer. Um, I do that every day. When I say mass, I offer up prayers for the souls in purgatory. That is very important for a lot of the earthbound, disembodied human spirits that, for whatever reason, sometimes only known to them, why they haven't crossed over yet. But Lori, this is for the spirit in your house and all the wandering spirits trying to get to heaven. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God our Father, your power brings us to birth, your providence guides our lives, and by your command we return to dust. I pray for the dead, especially for the spirit in Lori's home and all the souls in purgatory. May those who have been dear to me in life find a place with you in heaven. Lord, those who die still live in your presence. Their lives change but do not end. I pray in hope for my family, relatives, and friends, and for all the dead known to you alone. In company with Christ, who died and now lives, may they rejoice in your kingdom where all our tears are wiped away. Unite us together again as one family to sing your praise forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. I
Uh,
want to say hi to Michelle, hi to Carrie Lynn, and my friend Roberta's here, so she's listening, and give her one of the hearts here.
you know what? I'm glad you bring her up because I don't want to, in case I forget, and I very often do at the end of the show, guys, don't go anywhere. Just stay right here because following me is a great show called Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. And I'm going to be on her show pretty soon. And she's going to be on mine. But she's got a great show. So don't go anywhere. If you're just getting started on your Friday of high strangeness here on United Public Radio, stay tuned. After my show, it just gets better and better and better. So let's check the mailbag real quick. Well, it might be empty. Oh no, there's one. I've been in both since I started feeling better. I've been in both the prayer urn and the bag a lot, even though I haven't been on air. This is from Ben F. in Kansas. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
I have night terrors. How would I know that it's just bad dreams on steroids or something more sinister? You know what? That's a great question that I'm going to run past my guest today. I used to have night terrors too. I always looked for physical body signs, bites, scratches, bruises, um, hair that might have been pulled out while battling whatever I may be battling in my sleep. I would look for physical signs to know if it was just a dream or something more sinister. Another big red flag is if you're sleepwalking. You go to bed in one area, you've got these night terrors, and you wake up somewhere else in the house. That's not good. So that's the best advice I can give you, Ben. And if you determine that it's something more sinister, you need to get someone like me or someone like my guest today over to your home to get that very low vibrational negative energy out of the home and off you so that you can regain regain some nice night's sleep again. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, well, yes, not for a very long time though, and I do have some advice, and my advice would be prayer to Archangel Michael before you go to sleep. And a lot of times, whether it's a spirit or whether it's, night terrors, bad dreams, or whatever, that can help with whichever situation it actually is. Also, maybe a blessed metal, but I would say the last thing before you go to sleep, that Archangel Michael prayer, that can smooth things out quite a bit, and that's helped other people.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up too, because on that note, whether you're Catholic, Christian, what denomination you may be, if you have access to a TV and you can get EWTN, this Sunday, every morning at 5 a.m. Pacific, they have live Catholic Mass. It's about an hour long, but this Sunday's Mass is a special feast for all of the archangels Mass. So that's what they're celebrating, those angels. If you want to watch that Mass and crank the volume up and let that Mass be heard throughout your home too, if you're suffering that sort of stuff. So are you ready to meet my guest?
I absolutely am. I'm so excited. I've been
Uh,
telling everybody all week about this. Just really something different,
yeah,
for us too. I love it.
he's
Absolutely.
he's a really cool dude. People are still discovering my two appearances on his show and getting back to me with great feedback. So they're excited that he's on here today. I'm excited that he's on, and I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that him and I, since we live relatively close to one another, that we may work some cases together here in the Vegas area sometimes, because we both um, there's so as different as we are from one another, there's so many similarities between the two of us. So I'm going to be quiet now and introduce him to everybody else. Um, I don't know what to say about him. There's so many labels you can put on him, but I don't want to put any labels on him. He's got a wonderful show called The Way 126 Experience on YouTube. Catch it. Please welcome to the show the one and only Taoist Master San Qing.
Hello, brother.
Um,
I'm very, very excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is an honor. I'm very, very
Okay.
grateful, and I'm just excited to
I have to
share.
get the most important question out of the way first, Master San. How do you grow such an awesome beard?
it is an awesome beer.
It's,
It,
it's,
I mean,
it's
it's. You remind me of that guy on the. And I hope this isn't an insult. I don't mean it to be,
no,
but you
no.
remind me of that guy. Well, many of the characters you see on, what was the famous m- m- middle m- uh, medieval show with all the knights and stuff that was big on HBO
Was it?
here recently?
Was it? Oh my
Game of
goodness.
Thrones.
Yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
yes, there you go. You remind me of many of those guys, but you also remind me of the guy, the Scottish dude that always says, "Fid your lawn, fit it."
Yeah, you definitely you groom it. I would say that if you use castor oil, infuse the castor oil with a prayer beforehand, and it will grow this grow it right out. And surprisingly, any place you need hair, infuse it first with a prayer, then use castor oil. It's an incredible substance for that.
What if there's places, and I know to mention all of them would be TMI, but what if there's places like you don't want the hair, like the ears?
There you go. You don't put it there. That's the
Yeah, I got
answer.
to
Yep.
figure out how to get rid of that stuff. Because as you get older, you start getting these hairs growing out of. I know we're about to lose a net here, but you
I,
get these
I love
hairs.
that I love that he said castor oil because I'm a big castor oil person,
Oh
and I
yeah.
use it on my face and I use it on my joints, and I'll put it on, dry skin or rash, anything. And I mean, and all of the trying to think of his name, the sleeping prophet, and he would tell a lot of people to use castor oil packs. And so I started doing it, and I've never once been disappointed. Never once. It's
Yeah,
always
it's such a
like
powerful
Edgar
vehicle.
Casey. Casey.
All right. Yeah. It's a
Master
very powerful.
Son, you know I love you and respect you.
I
Uh,
love
I
you,
don't
brother.
I don't know anybody like you. And so what I want to do is, I sent you a message earlier this week, and you said, whatever you want to talk about, I'm an
Yeah.
open book. I'll go anywhere. And
Yeah.
I already knew that. But what I'd like to do, I'm going to let Annette, since she hasn't met you before, I'm going to let her chat with you a little bit, and then I'm going to let you take the conversation wherever you'd like it to go, keeping in mind that I still hope that you and I get to work together on a case one day, do some cleansing of some of the dark stuff that's here in this town, because we live so close together, and maybe why you can talk on this point a little bit later, but maybe why so much of this town seems to be so steeped in just dark negative energy. But I'll let you and Annette chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was watching some of your videos this week and I really enjoyed it. And then when I made the promo, I put talking about miracles and talking about creating your reality, which is really super interesting. But I think that I'd start with a really hard question, which would be what kind of advice would you give? This kind of ties into what Shawn's saying about the darkness of Vegas. We're kind of in somewhat of a really dark and troubling time overall. What kind of advice would you give to people, trying to cope with that and stay positive and be the change they'd like to see in the world?
Wow, that's such a great question. I mean, today is sort of an interesting place to be in because the most of the talking heads that control the information tend to lean it more towards a fear-based response. And of course, I always remind people when you're emotional, you're suggestible, which is a telltale sign of where you're at and how you can commandeer your attention. So, people tend to find that their emotions run away with their attention. And so, first and foremost, you start with seeding the connection between the earth, the Mother Earth, and of course, a higher sense of knowing God through prayer. You start and end your day knowing that you have this connection that is never leaves you, yet you have to be validated through your own experience. And this is where the human being's attention tends to be led astray through the course of a day. You start really well with a prayer, and then you move into what you're doing with your life. And what happens is we tend to get distracted and we start feeding into these emotional states that can really create things that are problematic in how you experience and feel your reality. And most important thing is your relationship with God, with Buddha, Tao, whoever it is that you're resonating with, and that will come in the self-evidence. Like just the oscillating, expansive feeling that the three of us are having right now, knowing that there's a presence of God, there's a presence of something greater that we're aware of. There's evidence of that. And more as a human being, we're stuck in a cycle of, what you start, you must finish, which is part of sort of the polarizing effects of what we call duality, right? This is the space we live in, this sort of electromagnetic space where when you do something, there's a response to it. When there's something positive, there's negative. There's evidence of that. And that's what we talk about when we talk about the darker frequencies or entities or energies that are definitely present in the city of Las Vegas. And so, you can have really, recently I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine. You might want to have him on your channel at one point, James Tunney. And he's a great scholar and an incredible spiritual teacher. And he is a devout Catholic, old school badass Catholic who understands that there's a narrative going on here where people are being led astray, and the idea that their attention is not being sort of detoured. And what we call this is a spiritual war, where there is something going on with a frequency that is taking your attention. And I refer to it as a mind parasite that really starts to give you the idea that your ideas, your thoughts are yours, and then something that is destructive will lead you astray. And first and foremost, it feeds on the emotional content because there's such meat on the bones for people to sink their teeth into when it comes to how you're experiencing this. And fear is like the major, entree on the menu. And so once you sink your teeth into that, well, this energy just sort of like devours it, and it just only wants more. And so the first evidence of someone being led astray will be this physical exhaustion. How do you really end your day? I always ask people, how do you end your day? How do you feel? Are you half empty or half full? And this is where people go, I never really thought about it like that. I'm exhausted. Like it was a hard day. This was difficult for me. And so many layers to that lead to that end part where you realize your actual life force is being, basically loosed on, as they call it, a term that is sort of familiar with more out of body experiences. More, it was coined more back in the 70s and 80s by a guy named Bob Monroe, who sort of has been a seeker of out of body experiences for decades. And he described this loose energy as this energy that literally feeds off the emotions and fears of human beings. And it's a universal thing. And that you can really find traits of that through your experience. So your faith is the backbone, the strength of whether you're going to be subject to it or you lay down the foundations of your knowing, of your connection with God, and then that just doesn't have it's the light is dissolves all lower frequency and what we would call a darker entity or energy through that connection that you have, that knowing. And for the simplicity of the audience, the prayer is the most powerful access point to start to solidify your relationship with God. And you always want to have that as a beginning and ending of your experience on a daily basis, because you tie in the start and finish of things. And that technically, when you start measuring up how you feel, the distance between the start and end of your day becomes smaller, smaller and smaller and smaller, till you get to a point where my relationship with God is it can't be broken. It can't be distracted. It can't be dissolved. And you build that immunity, as Shawn was talking about his COVID experience. The immunity, your spiritual strength starts to resonate, and it resides in your path on a daily basis. And it will show itself to you in the selflessness, the servitude that you put into your community, that you put into your family, that you put into the environment. And it will present itself as that, which then all the delusional states that you can be caught up in start to subside, and they just disappear. And you start asking yourself, is my life just completely charmed? Or what is going on? What kind of serendipity is taking place that I just feel so in line with just this, not just an idea, but a knowing of that servitude, and it returns back to you. Within Taoism, we talk about the gift as your offering. As you offer, you receive. It's a symbiotic sort of experience that refers to the duality that we experience, that electromagnetism of what we're experiencing in this material space. Some people may refer to it as a dimension from a physicist's perspective. I like to talk in frequential sort of like states that you obtain this frequency, and as you raise your resonance, it becomes evident in everything that you do. And the most powerful access to that is prayer. Your relationship with God is second to none. Of course, people will find themselves in a community where the communion, the ritual, the union that you have with God can be found through incredible priests like Shawn, where you come to a community that embodies this sort of sense of knowing. So this is where it's so important that people are not separated from what we call spiritual consciousness, and they stay aligned with their roots, and that, you know, they're not distracted, because there is lower frequency throughout Vegas and throughout the world right now. But once you start to get into prayer, you will be reassured on a minute by minute basis that you are right where you need to be. Hopefully that answers that question. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I love that answer. That's a great answer.
I remember back in the day was sometimes if you were with somebody that was struggling with some, you know, they weren't oppressed or possessed, but they were struggling dealing with some lower vibrational thoughts, whether it was influence or just they happen to be, you know, affected by the type of life they're living. Sometimes you would just keep it simple with them, baby steps, because you come in a holy water bottles ablazing on them and get, you know, all old school badass Catholic on them. Sometimes some people that's a turn off. So if I would do baby steps, and I used to hear a lot of these very spiritual paranormal investigators back in the day do you know, close your eyes and drop into as deep of a meditative state as you can, and imagine yourself being surrounded by this bright light brighter than any light you could ever imagine, coming down from heaven or from above and just engulfing you and surrounding you. And in your mind's eye, imagine yourself actually lifting up, you know, levitation, if you will, raising that vibration, and then follow that with some prayer, some good prayers to whoever you pray to. This being, I call him God, that's you know, all love and light and looking over us, our creator. And that seemed to work, as simple as that is, that seemed to work for a lot of people. Um, so I still occasionally give that advice to people if I talk to them and they seem to be like, you know, they're hanging on emotionally by their fingernails with this whole religion thing. And I know if I come on too strong, it's just going to turn them off. So many times I try to keep it simple and take baby steps with them. Do you find that with all the people that reach out to you for help that don't know what to reach out for, they just see you, there's something about you that says, you know, I need to talk to this guy. Something something loves them from above and is directing them to Master San. Talk to him. He's going to, you know, you're going to have a connection with him. Do you sometimes find yourself having to take baby steps with people?
Yeah, I mean, you notice it's like microdosing anything. Generally speaking, my rule of thumb is if you're in front of me, you're meant to embrace the resonance that's going to open you up to the consciousness, the spiritual consciousness of who you really are, which is, you know, in this situation, a fragment of God, a fractal pattern of God. You are the physical, energetic, and spiritual manifestation of divine word, will, light, love of God right now. And this is a present. I like to teach people how to return back to that, because we were born into it from the seed of conception all the way to birth as a human being into this world. We were the perfection that is given to us as a newborn. And then, of course, we lose sight of that through the cycle of the human timeline. You lose sight of that as you start to be altered and detoured through other experiences, whether you're guided from the beginning to where you are in your current experience as a human being. You can be misled. And this comes in all different types of forms, but more commonly, the emotion is the very carrot that distracts most people. They have a very interesting, problematic time challenged with that, because it seems so unobtainable, just being able to harness your emotional state and feel as though that you have a handle on your own reality, that it's not taking some sort of spiraling effect that takes away from who you are and what you're doing. And of course, we talk about this, Shawn, and we have in the past, oppression, depression, possession. These are the sort of orders that you find yourself in. And because of the state of where things are in the world today, we look at the resonance of the earth, which they refer to as the Schumann resonance, which is if we don't do a single thing as human beings and we just are standing on planet Earth, it resonates about 7.8 hertz frequency. That is a brainwave frequency that you can mimic and embody and resonate with, that puts you in a theta alpha state of awareness, which is basically your default as a creator. You are open to change, open to creation. And that brainwave is where the Earth's frequency is right now. Now, talking to many scientists that I've had on my podcast that specialize in Schumann resonance, there is a very clear obstruction and distortion of that frequency right now, which is bringing it around a 12 to 18 hertz frequency. And so there's some other outside influence that is altering the frequency of planet Earth right now. Now, when we talk about frequency of 12 to 18 hertz, what does that mean? Well, that puts you in a high beta state of mind. And high beta is generally how you wake up in the morning, you produce serotonin, your brain then gives you this chemistry to start your day. Now, if you're already waking up with anxiety and other emotional states that would distract you, beta turns into high beta, hyper myopic, over focusing, and you just live in anxiety that just flattens your adrenals, flattens the chemistry of your body, because the cortisol just burns it all out and you don't have anything left. And once you run out of cortisol, then you start feeding into other parts of your hormonal cascade, which then makes you exhausted. So when you are looking at this currently, as Annette was talking about where things are today and how ominous they're looking because of the world stage and politics and wars and all things of that nature, there is a very clear foreign interference from the Earth's natural frequency to a 12 to 18 hertz frequency, which puts you in a state of fear, anxiety, depression, helplessness, hopelessness. These are all states that are mimicked within that brainwave. Now, earlier this year, one of my teachers, Latsu, that I lean on all the time, I channel him directly. He was given this question: well, what's going to happen? It's like financial ruin, death, destruction, wash, rinse, repeat. This is going on, World War III, all this stuff. And his answer was really simple. He goes, imagine you're like a grain of sand, asking the beach, what are we doing today? Fall back into the beach and be realized. I was like, hang on, what? Just process that. It's like, you are separate, but you're not. We are all part of the same divine cloth of perfection, and we choose to cut it and distort it with our perception. This is nothing more than a reminder of how powerful you are as an individual, how powerful you are as a singular, as you are one with God. All is one, one is all. And so now we have this sort of foreign interference of the 12 to 18 hertz. And he was very clear that as we progress through this year, and this is the beginning of this year, by the end of this year and into the new year, the frequency of the earth is going to be around 40 to 60 hertz. And people go, well, what does that mean? Well, 40 to 60 hertz is where I live all the time, which is what they define as high gamma, right? Gamma brain waves basically mean that you have complete dominion over your mind, body, and spirit, and you can alter and change things at will. This is what we call 100% consciousness. So people talk about conscious and unconscious. You are completely 100% conscious. You can go in and alter traumas, events, things that would be plaguing you throughout your life that you have no control over, and you can erase them, refresh them, change the direction of how you perceive reality at will when you're in this gamma brainwave. Now, Lao Tzu is talking about this is the new frequency, and people are talking about the new coming, the coming of God, the something greater is going on in as we speak, as we lead to the end of this year, moving into a new year. It falls completely in line with what he's saying. But furthermore, the Schumann resonance scientists are validating from their own analysis of the data. By the way, you get this data from Russia and also Italy. They're the only 2 points in the world where they're pumping out the data from the Earth's frequency on a daily basis that you can obtain. If you look at certain sort of websites, you'll find that information. But it's not obtained here in America. Strangely enough, I have no idea why. It's very interesting. And so that is showing evidence that, guess what? We're hitting the 40-60. We're hitting the 40-60. That means that everyone's conscious. Everyone's awake. Everyone has been reborn. Everyone is going to access incredible knowing of the presence of God within every breath. Did that answer the question? I don't know.
I don't even remember the question, but it was a great answer.
And no, it did. It did. Dude,
you hear about these places on Earth that have been saying that they keep hearing constantly a low hum, and they feel like it's driving them crazy. And nobody can ever seem to get to the bottom of where that sound's coming from. And they live like that. And so that's kind of interesting. And also, I use like these sound frequency healing tapes. Well, they're on YouTube. And I had a surgery and I didn't want to take the painkillers. And I did that for pain relief. And it worked. And I healed up very quickly. The surgeon was very impressed. He asked me if I needed more pain, killers. And I said I didn't take them. And he said, well, you've healed beautifully. What did you do? And I told him I was listening to the sound frequency pain relief. And the only side effect of that was that everybody in the house, every time I didn't feel good and I laid down and put it on, everybody in the house was nodding off. Even the dogs were falling asleep. The whole house was like, But I thought that it helped a lot. So I like those sound frequency tapes.
Oh,
I call them tapes, but you know what I mean. You can find them on YouTube.
Well, the sound is such a powerful vehicle, right? So, if you're going to tune someone very quickly and change their resonance, you want to permeate what is the most major maestro to every cell in your body. It's called the vagus nerve or the vagus nerve. Vegas, baby, Vegas. And so when you permeate that with sound, you start altering the very chemistry within your body, and it happens instantaneously. Once you access the vagus nerve, it has basically maestro every cell in your body. There are a few neurologists that neuroscientists that might debate whether you have control over the spleen, but that again it becomes nonsensical in my opinion, because you're accessing the cell. You're accessing the cell. We're experiencing things in the state of awareness of prayer or cultivational practices within Taoism, where you can access every part of your body and you'll experience it. So, you get the distraction of people talking about the neuroplasticity of the body, and that, certain things are not sympathetically innervated, which is two polarizing effects of things that ramp up your autonomous state or turn down your autonomous state, which is a sympathetic response or a parasympathetic response. And so when you access the third eye that people talk about, most people, any neuroscientist will say that's nonsense. It doesn't exist. There's nothing there. Yet once you start to get into prayer and you get into this state of knowing through cultivational practices, i.e. Taoist alchemy, now you can feel anything, anywhere, at any time. And you tap into that energy source because you want to optimize the potential, which is the physical cell, every cell has the potential of 0.07 millivolts of electricity. And so when you're able to harness the 50 trillion cells you have in your physical flesh, crazy things start happening.
Yeah.
You get this coherence, just like Annette was saying. Using these sounds, you create a coherence that sort of maestros this neural network that you have between the heart and the brain. They reference it as the coherent state. So within the heart, there is a small brain. The same neural network that you have in your brain, you have in your heart, which is sort of a new discovery in the last 20 or 30 years. And so when they talk about coherence, it's creating the coherence between the heart and the brain through the neural network, which you access through the cells, through the nervous system, and then you all of a sudden heal so much faster. As Annette was saying, I felt like I was healing faster. I realized, I noticed a physical change that was far more rapid than it was before I was using these tools. And that harmony is evident. It's like self-evident. The most important thing is validating it for yourself, whether you're witnessing manifestation, magic, healing, and that healing will, present itself not like, a couple of years from now or not 6 months, but as you attune yourself more and more, you will witness it now, this second, not like potentially with the probability of. And so that all has to do with the resonance. So I like to tell people, look, this reality that we're working with from a physicist perspective would be light to wave to matter to particle realized with your attention intention, crafting from the cloth of perfection we call the mother. You distort it with your attention intention, creating energy. Our physical bodies, everything around us, the mics, everything is forming this shape or frequency from the mother's perfection. And this is where all of a sudden you refer to energy as the energetic potential. So once realized, everything is energy. Shawn has a frequency, and then has a frequency. I have a frequency. To obtain God's frequency, you must start at the baseline with the prayer. You cultivate, you realize its energetic potential, and then grow. Energy has a vibration. The vibration has a frequency. The frequency met with the resonance. Oh, yes, it will be yours. Oh, yes. You will create that relationship. And that's what happens when Shawn walks into a space. That's what happens when I walk into a space. When we're clearing space, when we're realizing there's something foreign there that has the potential of being very low frequency, ominous, dark entities, spirits, this is like the calling card, because we don't have to speak it. Our presence, because we embody it as that now moment, as our breath, as our knowing, our relationship with God, with Tao, that resonance presents itself. So when Shawn walks into a space, these entities and energies are very clear that there's something here that has not just the potential, will bring them back to what I call the return to God, to Tao, where they have no choice. It's so polarizing. It's so overshadows everything. The rinsing of that divine light, it cannot be met. It cannot be held. And so if you can't hold it, these low frequencies will diminish. Or in turn, because we're in a duality, you will find that there's two sides of the coin. People will either love you or hate you. And you're like, hang on a second, you don't even know me. And they instantly have an adverse effect on you have an adverse effect on them, bringing that resonance in. And you're like, how is this possible? I've never had a conversation with you. And their emotions start to raise up. Any lower frequency vibrations start to present themselves. And you're like, where did this come from? And it starts with your prayer.
This is a two-part question. I feel we should try to help Ben, the gentleman here in Kansas who's suffering these night terrors.
Yep.
The two-part question here for you, actually, it might become a three-part question. The two-part question is, He didn't mention sleep paralysis, so I'm going to
Mhm.
assume he's not suffering that. But let's say whether it is just bad dreams or whether it is something more sinister. On a basic level, if he's listening, on a basic level that he may understand that might help him, what would you recommend he do? And if it is something malevolent, uh, what is real exorcism like to you from your perspective?
Wow. Well, it has many traits, and it first seeps into what human beings would consider the five senses. So you will have a very clear evidence of taste, smell, sight, physical formed material evidence of this lower frequency. And so as you start to identify these as someone who may be Shawn, myself, or someone who's studying to decipher what is commandeering their attention, you need to be aware of some of the crumbs, the trail of crumbs that is leading you to this epiphany. And so um, there could be some potential there within his auric field of something a little lower frequency that not just presents itself like that, but it would be very clear evidence why he has bouts of depression, why there's a lot of anxiety, and this guy is also dealing with a tremendous amount of fear, even of his own shadow. And so these are just things that I'm identifying with right now, right here, right now. Now, the entry level is always the prayer. The entry level is not just the prayer, but the breath. If you want to take mastery or you want to become the maestro of your attention, intention, and return yourself, first you must identify with what it is. So let's just say that if you're getting night terrors with that, he wasn't without his admission, you can clearly see there's a level of like a sleep paralysis going on there. And so when I look at it that way, you flip a coin whether you're entering the astral to discover something greater about yourself, or you have welcomed an entity that potentially might want to reside in your space. Now, for this reason only, and that's why people call in and they take advice from Shawn, is being an expert that he is in exorcisms and understanding this and having done it for so many years. There is this need to, okay, I realize that I'm having sleep paralysis. I realize that I'm having sleep terrors. Now, that's two of the same, half a dozen of one, six of the other. The detail presents itself when you dip into that energy, and that energy, when I look at it, when I experience it, is like cement. It's like mud. It just is all consuming, and it weighs the experiencer down. And so from this point, the fastest way to resolve any sort of trappings of that, and he'll notice that there's an odor in his breath and also a smell that is emitted around the space that he lies in, which shows you much greater evidence of something not at the highest frequency.
I didn't
Now,
mention that, and you're absolutely right. I forgot about that. The smell. Yeah.
yeah. And so first things he needs to do is take note of these things. He's in good hands. He's in the company of good people, yourself, myself, Annette. These, he has the support to dissolve this. And furthermore, through identifying these very simple things, he can create an environment where he must start with the idea of prayer, create some type of space and altar, and then furthermore, and just for the audience, the altar can be yourself. Your physical body is an altar, an attunement that you have with your higher knowing of God, Buddha, Tao. And so the prayer starts there, but the respiration is critical to decimating this frequency, having set in motion with my intention and attention. There is a gap and an opportunity for this energy to be exercised, and I've already set in motion that as we speak. So he now has a gateway to that, but he must realize that to identify, you must take note on some of these things. You must start your prayer. Now your breath will decimate anything that resides within your physical body when you start to attune. And just like Annette was talking about, I was using these sounds and frequencies. You're attuning to your connection with God, and that breath will be the fastest way to tune up what we call the tuning fork, the physical body, which is really housing this energy that would distort your perception. So even though we're having this conflict on an astral level, on a dream level, on a spiritual level, once you identify that it is residing within the physical body, it will instantly start to dissipate. It cannot hold the resonance. And so on a physical level, you will see first signs: physical sweat. Your breathing will become very hyperventilated as it is exercised, because that's set in motion already, and then it will start to regulate and become labored on the way down to very calm, very slow, very almost to a point where you will not even think you're breathing. And that will be the first evidence of the exorcism as we're setting in motion. And to light a candle, and of course within God's light a candle for that presence, and you will see that evidence of God within the flame. And just in case you're skeptical in any sense of the word, find a place that has no air ventilation of any kind, light that candle, and God's presence will show you as that flame flickers. And I can take 7-day candles in my temple. I'll light them, and before the end of the day, they're gone. The evidence of God's light, of Tao's light within that space, is this sacred gift that you share, this gift of offering, a surrendering of the truth. And so some of these elements, and you will notice there will be a few shakes and releases that will come from this, and it will show itself to you. Now, that's a very mild exorcism, but Shawn and I can speak on things where you make Hollywood movies look like infantile sort of like possessions, and I've come across many of those in my path as a priest. And once they're done, they're done. It's like there's nothing more powerful than watching someone come out the other side. It's like a car wash. But you will not ever find an entity that will hold its ground longer than the resonance of God. It just doesn't. That's not how it works. It cannot maintain its lower frequency. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And I think you knew what was going to come next. I think that there's going to be a part 2 to this conversation. I just noticed it's 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and I don't want them to kick us out of here without me having a chance to tell everybody, if you haven't checked out Master Shawn's show, it's The Way 126 Experience on YouTube, and his website is theway126.com. Anything you want to, before I kick you out of here, Master Shawn? I love you. God bless you. Anything you want to really quickly say to the masses before I kick you out of here?
That you're in great hands here on this channel, and that Father Shawn is always going to guide you in the right direction for you to find yourself in your relationship with God, and to nurture that through his guidance. And If you ever need any further assistance, always come back and return to his spoken word and his breath, which is basically speaking the words of God this very moment, right now. And I'm just grateful that I got to hang out with you, brother, and we definitely need a part two.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a part two. Give your wife a big hug and a kiss for me. Have a wonderful remainder of your Friday evening. I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you, brother.
Thank
God
you
bless
so
you.
much. It was great meeting you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Real
Take care,
pleasure.
brother.
Okay, bye.
Well, Annette, what'd you think about that guy? I love that guy.
I couldn't believe how fast the hour went. I was so into it. And then it was kind of funny because he said, "Did that answer your question?" I remember my question. I was just completely engrossed in what he was saying. And I'm really glad that he'll come back
Was there
because,
anything you want to say to anybody? Anything you got going on?
no, I'm doing fine right now. We got some stuff coming up, but we don't have to say anything about it yet.
Well, our next guest, you're going to love this guy. Friday, October 4th. He is a lifelong experiencer and paranormal authority and enthusiast. And he's also the host of Dark Fringe Radio. Will Martinez will be here on the 4th.
Nice.
So, are you ready for this joke? This week's joke?
Sure. Sure. Let's do a joke.
I've had a lot of people send me jokes lately. Okay, this better be a
Better
good.
better to do a joke than be a joke.
Two muffins were sitting in an oven. One turned to the other and said, "Wow, it's pretty hot in here." The other one shouted, "Wow, a talking muffin."
Yeah, muffin jokes are awesome.
I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Great show. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, good night. Annette Munich, Stellium Books. See what she has to put up with? Again, thank you to United Public Radio um, for carrying my show. God bless them. Thank you to Michelle DeRoche for making that happen. And thank you all for tuning in. I don't have a show without you guys. And thank you to everyone that still is discovering Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists, streaming everywhere. God bless you for all your compliments and your support of that show that I was in. And what else do I want to tell you guys? Look forward to Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn coming up next. And remember, guys, we may have done what the devil said we did, but we are not who the devil says we are. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.